What's up, guys? It's always a good one when your wife is laughing before you hit record on this podcast. It is Tuesday evening mechanic.
Oh, we know about timing.
Oh my goodness. It's not Monday morning. It's Tuesday evening. Welcome in. Hopefully you're hearing this on Tuesday evening. Some of you guys might be slackers and not check your phone until Wednesday morning when this will be coming out. So for some of you guys, it'll be Wednesday morning mechanic. Other guys, it'll be Tuesday evening mechanic. We blew Monday morning mechanic, and I'll tell you why. It's because we have a family of 6 people here. We have 4 kids. We got the carpets cleaned. We got sickness going on. We got just be glad you guys aren't in office right now, because what have we had, Karen? We've had flu?
Croup and influenza B. I was the only one in the family to not get any symptoms.
I just
blessings.
The last few days I've had a sore throat, and I've just been my energy level has just been zapped. So I haven't been as sick as the kids were. But even this morning on my workout, I had no energy. And I wanted to go to sleep again this morning, and I tried to, and then the baby was in the bed with me. Anyway, I did get a workout in, though, but I was completely zapped and shaking afterwards. So let's jump in and talk about Tampa. Tampa happened on Saturday. It was the Tampa Supercross. We're on round 7 of 17. This Supercross season I've really, really loved, because I think we're having a more interesting series, especially in the 450, than we've had in a long time. Yeah. Seems like there's a lot of people that are doing a lot of good things, and I think it's open. There's 3 guys that could win this championship, and I don't think that you have that usually. By round 7, it's like a 1 or 2 man race. This one is definitely a 3-man race for sure. And there's 4 or 5 people that could still win. I think 3 people are still going to be on that. But let's talk about the 250s. For those of you that know or don't know, we are now on the 250 East. So the way that Supercross works, at least currently, is they have 2 different divisions for the 250 class, and I think they did that back in the day so that it was easier for guys that weren't on factory teams, so the travel wasn't as big of a deal. That way, they didn't have to travel all the way across the country, because typically speaking, in the lights class or the lower division, 125 2-stroke back in the day.
Lightweight class.
In the lights. Yeah, they didn't have enough money. Now, though, there's so many factory guys on these 250 teams. I think that the 250 should just race the entire season. And in fact, I don't think there should be a split between the classes. I think what it does is it waters down the talent, and then it makes it so that you have lapping. They're lapping now in lap 5.
Or 4.
Yeah, in the heat races in the 250s, about somewhere around the 4th lap or the 5th lap, the top guys started lapping into the lappers, coming all the way around. And so if you're fleeking, 8 to 10 or 12 seconds slower per lap, you shouldn't even be out there, and it's just causing more danger than they need. And
there's a race going on, and you ain't in it.
Yeah, seriously. And so I think that the solution there, because the AMA and the FIM, they're always listening to this podcast. And so I'm now speaking directly to AMA. And I'm saying, let's drop this whole East Coast, West Coast 250 thing. Supercross is already the most expensive thing ever. And most of these factory teams are doing it anyway. They could totally do it anyway. And then we'd have all of these riders in the same thing. Right now in the 250 West, we've been watching Austin Forkner and Dylan Ferrandis go at it. And the problem that Austin Forkner has had is it's basically just him and Dylan Ferrandis.
Yeah.
And Dylan Ferrandis is kind of eating him for breakfast. If Dylan Ferrandis had to go through these other guys to try to catch Austin Forkner, who's going to get the whole shot, it might be a whole different thing.
There'd be a lot of carnage,
because listen to these names. You've got some pretty big names here. You've got Shane McElrath, a veteran of the 250 class. You've got Chase Sexton, his 2nd or 3rd year. Jeremy Martin, who's a vet who came back. Garrett Marchbanks, Jordan Smith, RJ Hampshire. It seems to me like the East 250 is a little bit more stacked this year than the West 250. In the West, you just had, your what's his name? Why can't I think of his name?
On the what?
On the West, our guy.
Our guy?
Not our guy, just the guy.
Austin Forkner?
Austin Forkner, thank you. This is why Karen's here.
You
got Austin Forkner, Dylan Ferrandis, and Justin Cooper, and that's it. Here on the East, at least maybe I'm just doing glass half full type thing, but there's a bunch of guys. There's probably 6 guys that are very, very good. We like Garrett Marchbanks because he's from Colville, Utah. I just learned that. So,
yay, Garrett.
But anyway, so
and also Josh Hill. That's kind of a fun one.
Yeah. So what did you learn about Josh?
With the brother. Well, I learned that looking at him through his goggles, he looks exactly like his brother, but he has long curly red hair. So that reminds me it's not him.
Yeah. So Josh Hill is the brother of Chase, Jeremy.
When in doubt, just say Justin.
Justin.
Right?
It is Justin. Because Karen says everyone's Justin. So Josh Hill is
there
Justin
are a lot
Hill's
of
brother.
Justins.
And Josh Hill is actually, he's racing 250s this time on the East Coast, and it's pretty cool. He has been racing forever. He took a big break off of it. He raced 250s like 13 years ago, and now he's back on 250s, and he's like, hey, these 250s are way better than the 250s that I used to use back in the Dizzy.
Oh, and we can't forget Dakotas. That's a fun name.
Yeah, Jimmy Dakotas. So a bunch of cool things. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with Tampa, the sand section. They put this sand section in there. It was like this rhythm section that had kind of a turn at the end, and it was just sort of weird.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of the riders liked it at all. It was just like this super fine sand blasting you up. And we were watching a little bit of the qualifying in the middle of the day. We didn't go to Tampa, but we were just, my son Case wanted to watch it, and so we were turning it on. It was absolute carnage.
Yeah.
Especially in the qualifying and the practices. Guys couldn't even go through there without, like every lap, someone was crashing, especially in the 250s.
Well, and you notice with every rider going through the sand section, there was a new line. It wasn't like, some line that people were just taking through that first part of the sand section. There were multiple lines every round. And so I thought that was interesting.
Well, it's because it was like 4 feet deep of sand. Like straight up, that would have been extremely difficult.
And no moisture.
Extremely difficult to ride through that sand. And so sometimes they'll do sand sections in these races. And I don't think a lot of the Supercross guys like them. I know Eli Tomac has been vocal, like, why are we doing sand in Supercross? He's said that before. But part of it is because you're just going to get blasted.
Well, and Cooper Webb also said something in the post conference where he was saying, that it was kind of weird that we had it. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how he worded it. Could you remember?
They basically don't like it, but they don't want to come out and actually just whine about it and sound like a whiner. But I don't think any of them like it. It's dangerous.
He didn't sound like a whiner. He was just saying matter of fact. Like, it was just kind of weird.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, and everyone struggled in it. It was the great equalizer. Sometimes the whoops are an equalizer, but this one, the sand was the thing that separated everyone. And we'll get to it later, but Tomac said a couple times that he liked it because it gave him actually a place to pass. He's like, it was really hard to pass on this track, but the sand was the one place where if you just sent it, it would kind of give you a way to pass. So,
well, and he was saying if you came around that left-hand turn in the sand, if you could nail the double right before it, then you could still have enough momentum to keep going. But
to rail the outside.
Adam Cianciarulo was the one that was really just shotgunning on the right side of that.
I think Cianciarulo was doing it on the left-hand side and then making the tight left-hander. Well, either way. But your point is valid, though. Like, it was kind of one line, and then if you had the guts, you could go around the outside. So in the 250 class, though, Shane McElrath, there's a few things happening. Like, all these guys have different bikes this year. They switched teams, a bunch of different guys. Shane McElrath last year, he was on KTM. It might have been like Troy Lee Designs KTM. I can't remember exactly who it was. I don't think it was the factory KTM team. But this year he switches over. He's riding a blue bike and doing a lot of testing. And I thought it was really interesting because they said he didn't know if he was going to... They had kind of assigned him to go on the East Coast, but they told him to be ready for West Coast racing. So he was supposed to be ready for Anaheim 1 in case somebody got hurt at like press day. And if someone got hurt on press day right before A1, he was going to race the West Coast. And he said he wasn't quite ready because he was switching everything and switching teams, switching bikes, switching all this stuff. And he said he could have made it work, but he wasn't really ready. You remember that? Mm-hmm. In that press conference? The other thing that I thought was super interesting is that he said that he's reusing an air fork now. And I'm going, wait a second. Aren't you... Doesn't Yamaha use the holy trinity of like spring KYB fork? And now we've got Shane McElrath on a factory Yamaha team running an air fork? I thought that was interesting. So I'm going to have to do some more research on that. But yeah, Shane McElrath ends up number 1, which was pretty cool to see. Shane's more of a veteran rider. He's been in that class. I think he's raced that class now for 7 or 8 years. So, yeah.
I just like to say his last name. I think that's a fun last name to say.
Say it.
McElrath. I love it. I think it's fun.
McElrath. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Chase Sexton came in number 2. So what can you say about Chase, Karen?
I like him. I'm
Why?
rooting for him.
Why?
I don't know. He's just that sweet little boy next door kind of, I don't know. And he's got a good head on his shoulders. He doesn't seem too cocky. And usually kids that age are quite cocky and self-absorbed, but he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. So that's why I like him.
Well, he ended up with the number one plate. I mean, because last year he was chasing down, why can't I think
I see what
Austin
you did
Forkner.
there.
He was chasing Austin Faulkner the whole year, and then Austin Faulkner turned his knee and tore his ACL, and Chase Sexton was right there to capitalize on it. So here's the thing, though. I like Chase Sexton, and I think he's a good kid, but I think this is the last time we see the red plate on his bike. I mean, obviously he just lost it to Shane McElrath. Next week, Shane McElrath, number 12, is going to have the number one plate. I mean, the red plate. So Chase has the number one plate, but he's not going to have the red plate. For you guys out there that don't know about this, because I do have some people that are starting Supercross, watching Supercross now just because of this podcast. If you run the number one plate, it's because you won the championship in your division the prior year. So if you have the number one plate, it means you're the winner from last year.
If you have the red plate, that means that you are number one in the points.
Current points leader.
Current points.
And so obviously you'd like to have a number one plate and have it be a red plate. And he did that at Tampa because he was, the champion. Everyone has 0 points, but you start with the red plate if you got the number one. And then he lost it to Shane McElrath. So next week, Shane McElrath, number 12, his plate will be red. And Chase Sexton is going to have to try to run that down again. But I just think it's going to be hard for him because what I was saying earlier with how stacked this class is with McElrath and Martin and Jordan Smith and Marchbanks and RJ Hampshire, I think it's going to be hard. I do think he's probably going to be second. I think he'll probably chase down Shane this entire time, and I hope he makes it better. Let's talk about Jeremy Martin, Karen.
Oh,
J-Mart.
Jeremy.
What do you think of J-Mart?
Well, he's had quite a time the last few years.
He was third. He got a podium.
Yep, he got a podium, but he hasn't been racing for a couple of years. Broke his back.
Yeah.
And then he got a job, like a normal job last year. And so this was a pretty emotional race for him. He was fastest in the time for qualifying. And then he ended up on the podium at number 3. And that was just a really cool thing just to see him make a full circle. And his first race back, he's on the podium. I thought that was really neat.
Okay, so this is kind of creepy. Because, look, I took some notes, and Karen can't see my notes. And here are the notes that I took down. It says Jeremy Martin, broken back 2 years, got a job, qualifies number 1, and podium finish. And she literally just went down my entire checklist, and she wasn't looking at it.
I don't have anything written on my paper. I just go off the seat of my pants.
Oh, my goodness. That was awesome. Look, I'm not lying. You see it.
Yeah, I do see that.
So he had the broken back a couple of years ago, gets a real job, and then, but he's... they said something like
That's funny.
He said something about the doctor went in for a doctor appointment, and the doctor's like, dude, you're fully healed. You could ride a bike tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so he did. He started riding, and he's obviously been getting back in shape and everything. And then he comes back, and he said he's just enjoying and not taking it for granted as much now as he did before. So,
and he gave all the glory to God. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's really fun to hear the storylines behind these guys. They're working so hard, and they've got so much on the line, and they're putting their bodies on the line and all this stuff. And it's nice to just see him have and qualify number 1. He didn't even know he was, because he said there are times in his career where he hasn't qualified for mains, even though he's quote a factory rider. Obviously, a lot of these guys have had that, but here's a dude. Actually, some of these guys that we talk about have never not qualified for a main. They were just good enough that they'd always qualify. But Jeremy Martin says there are times I haven't qualified. And now to come out after being off the bike for 2 years with a broken back, qualify number 1 in qualifying practice earlier in the day, and then finish with a podium.
He's got the stuff.
He was happy.
That's so fun.
He was happy.
So I have a question. Are you ready for this? Mm-hmm. He doesn't know what I'm going to ask. So what, in your opinion, was the difference between passing on the West Coast to passing on the East Coast?
See, on the East Coast, they've got more trees and stuff, and so they have to practice passing a little bit. So
because they don't want to hit trees.
I saw a lot of passing last night in the 250 class, and I didn't see one person get pushed off the track. There was a lot of passing going on.
Yeah.
Like throughout the day and the heat races and everything. And so I just, the East guys must be better, more efficient at passing and stuff.
Yeah.
So Even Shane McElrath, he said that. He said that in the post-race press conference. Not that. He just said that he got to ride because he's now on the same team as Dylan Ferrandis and Justin Cooper. Yeah. And so he said it was fun to ride with those guys out in California and everything and practice together. And I was just hoping that he would like put a plug in there like, yeah, we're working on our passing techniques and stuff like that.
But he didn't.
He didn't.
But yeah, there was a definite difference of passing in the 250s on the east versus the west.
Not a single person got pushed off the track.
Because for anyone out there who doesn't know, Dylan Ferrandis, he's the one who pushes everyone off the track. And he is on the West Coast. And so now we're starting into the East Coast and he's not there. So all the passes are clean.
It was kind of fun to watch. It was kind of fun for a change. Last one to mention maybe in the 250 class here is Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith was also on a orange bike last year, KTM. Now he is on Team Green. He's riding a Kawasaki. He ended up with a 5th place finish. Garrett Marchbanks was 4th. So that's really cool. I want to see what Garrett Marchbanks can do with that 4th place finish and see if he can be competitive. He's also on a Kawasaki. So a bunch of cool things happening.
Jordan Smith also got the whole shot though.
Yeah, he did. But he didn't do it anything after that. He just kind of fell back a little bit. He was a little bit off the pace. Switching over to the 450s. So pretty fun race, and the racing is very, very tight, extremely tight. Karen, what was our top 3 in the 450?
Well, there's Eli Tomac, Cooper Webb, and Ken Roczen. And Vince Freezy, he got the whole shot. And Adam Cianciarulo was 2nd. And then he ended up at 8th. He tucked a wheel and his bike got stuck on the tough block and needed some assistance to get it off. But I was so bummed about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So Eli Tomac, he gets the win here. And my thought is this is Eli Tomac's year. He isn't my favorite to win the race, but like if I was a betting man at this point, I just think he is so due. Like Eli Tomac, and you guys know, I'm not the biggest Eli Tomac fan. I want to be more than I am, but he is due, and I can say this, he deserves it. And I want to see Ken Roczen do this. I would love to see Ken Roczen win. He would be my choice out of the top 3 guys in the points lead would be Ken Roczen. But if I have to say who's the guy who's due and deserves it more than the other people, I would have to say it's Eli Tomac.
Ken Roczen.
This is Eli Tomac's like the 5th year where he is like in a position to get it. I think the last 2 years with Dungey, when Ryan Dungey won, Eli Tomac was right there and could have or should have won it. And then the next year when you have Jason Anderson, Eli Tomac was right there and could have won it. And then last year with Cooper Webb, he was right there and could have won it, just a few points off. And now he's having the best season from a points perspective through 7 rounds that he's ever had.
Yeah, because usually he comes off really slow and then has to like work his way up in the pack and get his points back. And then he gets close, but he doesn't get it at the end of the day.
Yeah, this is about the time, like round 8 is about where he starts to get things together and just start ripping off wins like crazy.
Oh, yeah, I guess I got to get some points.
Yeah, and so now here we are after 7 rounds, and he already has 3 wins. He is the points leader. The only thing that's going to be interesting, well, not the only thing, but one thing that'll be interesting now is he has had the red plate in the past in Supercross, and then he's kind of like hasn't known what to do with it, and he's followed it up with like a bad race. And so that's what I'm watching for with Eli Tomac is next week in Dallas. Does he follow it up with like a bad race? It's going to be a Triple Crown in Dallas, so there's going to be a bunch of racing. I think Ken Roczen is more excited about that because Ken's starts have been better, not the last 2 weeks, but historically Ken Roczen's starts have been way better than Eli Tomac's. And so this is where is Eli Tomac going to show us something different? And I hope he does. I don't want people to do bad. I don't want Eli to do bad. I certainly don't want him to crash and get hurt. But he had a good race in Tampa.
But historically, Eli, whenever he is close to, really getting somewhere in the points, he crashes. And then instead of jumping up and going, he like, oh, what's going on? And looks kind of confused and is slow to get back on the bike. And this is a novice perspective here, Karen speaking, but it just seems like he's got no sense of urgency. And so hopefully he can pull that together if this is his year. But if not, I'm still rooting for Ken. I'm whatever he does, I'm rooting for Ken.
Yeah. I got thinking it's been a long time since we've actually seen Tomac crash, and I hope that he doesn't do that. But he almost crashed there in the sand section trying to make a pass on Adam Cianciarulo. Because what happened is at the beginning of the race, they jump out and it's Team Green up in the front. Well, first you have Vince Friese, who's just in the way. Vince Friese gets the whole shot and he just falls back. Vince Friese get the whole shot. He's done it a lot. He's a great starter, but he ends up getting 13th and he's just in the way. Like seriously. And so then you've got, Vince Friese and then Adam Cianciarulo makes the pass on Vince immediately. And then you've got Eli Tomac there in third at the beginning part of the race. And Vince just needs to get out of the people's way. 13 people pass Vince. Like you're only moving backwards. And, that's disappointing. But then these other guys, Cooper Webb finally gets around. Another one is Malcolm Stewart. So the top three, you've got Eli Tomac 1, Cooper Webb finishes 2, Ken Roczen finishes 3, but I just want to bring up Malcolm Stewart. Malcolm Stewart was running at the beginning of that race for a long time. He had a really good start. In fact, he was like maybe as high up as 4th place or something, but I don't think Malcolm Stewart has the fitness. He even said that afterwards.
Malcolm Stewart was still wearing his jammies when he was riding.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. If you're listening to this still, go back and look at his, what is it called? Outfit. What's it called?
His
jersey, gear, whatever.
His pants, his gear.
Yes. It looked like an old farmer with like the bum square, like has the buttons around the bum so you can go potty without taking your jammies off.
This is the only place you can get this kind of race breakdown is right here on Dirt Bike.
Oh, yeah. Right here. No, really. He was wearing his farmer jammies, that Malcolm Stewart. And that was all I could look at. I just thought it was so funny.
She kept talking about that. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. She's like, look, right there. That's the flap.
It's white jammies with a red flap bum. And it looked so funny.
I'm sure that's not what they were going for when they designed that. But this is what all women thought, is that he was wearing jammies with a bum
At least
flap.
I did. I don't know about other women, but...
But his fitness is just not quite there. He can hold on to it for about 12 minutes and maybe, 14, 15, but he just drops like a rock after that. So
speaking of dropping like a rock, there was a few people that tumbled in. Ken Roczen, he tucked a wheel. Zach Osborne crashed. Adam Cianciarulo took that one.
Adam Cianciarulo did it in the whoops, yeah.
Yeah. He almost took another guy out.
Adam Cianciarulo, though, qualified 7th. For the 7th straight week, Adam Cianciarulo has qualified fastest in the actual qualifying in the earlier in the day.
He's got to figure that out. How to get that over into the main.
I think, he's doing well. If you look at it, who has led the most laps in the entire year? It's Ken Roczen with 43. And then right behind him, it's Eli Tomac with 41. And then right behind them, it's Adam Cianciarulo with 37. So if you really think about Adam's year in the 450 so far, he's in 5th place in the points. He's led more laps than everyone except for the top 2 guys, and it's not even close. Yeah. Cooper Webb, the reigning champ, has only led 5 laps.
Adam Cianciarulo, Justin Barcia.
Adam Cianciarulo has led 7 times as many laps as Cooper Webb has. 7 times, guys.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so he's having he's gonna, like I've said, Adam Cianciarulo has the possibility of being the biggest thing in the sport for the next 10 years.
I hope so, because he's really fun to listen to.
He is fun. He's super fun. And we talk about Eli. I think he's gonna do it. I think he's gonna get mentally tough. It's his 30th win of his career. He has more wins than anyone else who has never won a championship. Because a lot of times you can win. Some people have won championships with only winning like 3 races in the year. 3 races out of 17 and still win the championship because you're up there consistent or whatever. Mm-hmm. There are years where Eli Tomac has won 7, 8 races. And he's not won the championship because when he has a bad day, he's like 12th, 15th, 14th.
Because he's slow to get back on the bike.
Exactly. Sometimes there's been a couple of times where he's had 2 or 3 bad races where he finished out of the top 10, and that basically kills it. Like your bad race needs to be somewhere around like 10, 8, 7, 6. And so, but I think he's going to do it. And then Cooper Webb, man. Cooper Webb, 2nd place finish.
Dark horse.
Cooper Webb is back, and you don't want that guy to be ticked off. Last week, he was mad as a hornet. This week, he wasn't mad as a hornet, but he got, he ended up in 2nd place. And he lost a couple of points because last week he was 9 points back. Now he is 11 points back because there's only two people that he can't have in front of him. He can't have Eli Tomac in front of him, and he can't have Ken Roczen in front of him at the end. And Eli was in front of him, and so he gave up a couple of points there.
Yep.
You know, so he's we've got Ken Roczen now is lost the red plate. Ken Roczen is 4 points back on the season, and then Cooper Webb is 11 points back on the season. So
Ken Roczen, his his red mohawk's turning pink.
It is starting to fade for sure. Yeah. Hey, did you hear about Brock Tickle?
Nope.
Brock Tickle is back. Brock Tickle got he failed a drug test that the AMA did, and the drug test that the AMA did just follows like the WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency rules or whatever, and there was some trace source of whatever it was in his urine. I don't even know what it was. It was like this weird chemical or something that no one is even sure if it gives you an advantage or anything. And anyway, he was basically kicked out of racing for the last year and a half or 2 years on this problem. It was a similar thing to what happened to Christian Craig, I guess, back in the day. And Brock Tickle had to wait a year before he even found out how long the AMA was going to have his suspension, what it was going to be. It was just kind of a joke. And so he comes back, and even only being on I guess he's been riding a bike, but he couldn't compete in anything. He comes back, and what does he qualify? He qualified he qualified 8 going into the main event. I don't know what his earlier qualifying in the day was, but he finishes in 12th, which I thought was pretty awesome for a guy just coming back. I mean, if you think about it, who was right in front of him? Zach Osborne at 11 and Jason Anderson at 10. Karen, what is happening with Jason Anderson?
Oh, man.
Jason Anderson 2 years ago was the champion.
Yeah.
What has happened to him?
He's too chill.
Is that it?
I guess. I don't know. Let's text him and find out.
He's supposed to be a fighter. He's supposed to be contending for this championship, and he is now in 6th place, but he is like 40 points off or 36, 37 points off. I don't know what is going on with him. He gets a number 10. He's 10th place. He's a top 5 dude. He should not be out of the top 5. I look at him and I say he's just one step down from Eli Tomac and Cooper Webb and Ken Roczen. But he's showing that he's a number of steps down.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't get it.
I have another question. What happened to Blake Baggett? Where was he at? Why did he not start?
I don't know what happened to the Double B. I think the Double B
BB4.
I think the Double B had a problem in his heat race. He went down pretty hard in the heat race, I think.
I don't follow him on Instagram.
Then he jumped back up and finished the heat, and then he didn't start in the main. So I don't know what happened to Double B. Adam Enticknap, he was in there. He finished 21st. So he finished last of all the people who actually did
Chad
race.
Reed.
Chad Reed. I don't think Chad Reed finished the race. Does it show?
I don't know. It doesn't say.
He got 19.
I remember he got lapped.
Yeah, he was being lapped. So that's pretty bad for him. It's too bad. Anyway, so I think that's what we've got for you. It was an interesting race. Next week is going to be that Triple Crown, like we said, in Dallas, Arlington. Last year, Karen and I were at that race. It was super fun.
That was fun.
We went there. We got down. We got to go do track walk and everything. It was cold. I was wanting warmer weather, and it wasn't warm. I think it was like 20 degrees colder the day we were there than it had been earlier in the week or something. Maybe even colder.
And that ramp going into the track walk was...
Don't tell that story. We'll have to tell that story next week.
Okay.
We'll have to tell that story next week. We'll have to remember that. But
Cliffhanger.
But yeah, that's called a tease. We call that a tease in the industry.
Oh, gall.
But I'm excited. Again, I'm excited for this season because, like I said, it is actually the points chase is pretty tight. And there are, if you look at it, I really do think there are 3 people that could easily win this. Eli Tomac could win it. Ken Roczen could win it. Cooper Webb could win it. After that, you slip down to Justin Barshin, Adam Cianciarillo. I think those guys are a ways off. I'm not sure that either one of them could pull it off. The championship this year. But those top 3 guys, Eli, Ken, and Cooper, seriously wide open for any of them. Tons of green grass in front of them. Lots of racing to go. We're just a little bit over. I think we're about 1/3 the way through it. So we're now getting into the meat of it. And a lot of guys seem to think that they like those East Coast tracks better because the dirt is better. It's a little bit softer. So I think that a lot of the guys are super happy to be off the West Coast and going back to the East Coast with a little bit more rutted tracks. What do you think, Karen?
I guess so. I don't know. I don't work there.
That's what they say. I'm just talking about what they say. So should be some interesting racing coming up. And if you guys have an idea of where me and Karen should go to our last traveling Supercross race, send us an email, kyle@dirtbikechannel.com, and tell us which race we should go to and why. We're kind of keying in on Seattle, but I'm worried about I don't want it to be a mutter. I don't want to go to a race and then have it be a mutter. You know?
You don't know.
I'm anti-mud. Okay. Well, that's all we got for you on this Tuesday evening Supercross mechanic. Anyway, sorry. We'll be better next week and we won't miss it. So anyway, thanks, guys, and leave a single track. See ya.